Hi everybody, my name is Justin Sider and I'm the CIO at Belay Technologies. Today I'm going to give you a short presentation on automated IaaS testing. This is kind of a passion of mine. I enjoy doing it and it's kind of what I do every day. So here we go. All right, so what is this thing? This is basically testing if any applications are operating correctly at the service and user-facing application layer. So this is, we have these tools like Puppet and SaltStack, Chef, Ansible. They're all wonderful tools, and they're used to provision and configure production applications quickly and precisely. The problem that we have is that, yes, the configuration is correct. However, can your users access the application correctly? Also, are all the APIs and software interfaces operating correctly, right? So orchestrating these tests test the user side, right? We want to make sure that the users can access the data, the users can access the services, and that's how you provide this testing and ensure that you have an uptime and that you don't go down. The entire life cycle of the application can be tested from deployment, user experience, and finally the teardown or retirement of the application. Why is this important? Software has bugs, so why wouldn't infrastructure? Whether that be a patch that needs to be applied or just a configuration that you missed. Our infrastructures have bugs. You're going to reduce your backup footprint. I talked about this yesterday in my other session. With this type of testing, you no longer have to back up running VMs, right? You save the configuration file. That configuration file is used by Puppet or Docker, and that's saved in your version control. So now that VM, it's just an artifact of your environment. You don't have to back it up. The log files that those things are creating are putting those on a shared storage somewhere. You back that data up, but again, it saves you from having to back up running VMs. This is going to speed up your backups and reduce your footprint, right? Everybody probably wants to buy less storage. That's a great idea. All right, you're going to have confidence in your deployments, right? So when you deploy that developer software, you've already tested it. When you deploy your infrastructure, you want to make those infrastructure changes. It's already tested. You have confidence. That's huge for an IT department. Your time to market, right? Now that you've done your testing, you don't have to do this pre-pod thing. You can go straight from testing right into production, right? You want to save that time. There are birds flying in the room. Sorry. You also have the ability to rapidly test prototypes, okay? So if you want to make a change and your developers aren't square with it, you can go ahead and do it. They don't need to know. You have this area of your infrastructure that you can just do your testing in. You can plug it in, you can run that. They're never going to know. I won't tell them. Additionally, we have Patch Tuesday. We have all these patches coming from all these vendors all the time. This is a great opportunity to get in there and deploy these patches, deploy these changes, and see what they're going to do to your infrastructure. Again, using something like NSX where you can put this infrastructure off to the side, you're never going to have to worry about that impacting any other part of your infrastructure. And the last piece here is effectively testing upgrades, right? You want to go from a Windows 7 client to a Windows 10, or you want to upgrade your version of CentOS. You can do that through automated infrastructure testing. All right. One of the things I'm super passionate about is Belay and my company that I work for, and the fact that we're going open source with several tools. One of them is Belay Device. Belay Device is an open source automation framework that offers a provisioning service and task execution engine. It's built on WAMP and PowerShell. I know all the developers probably just cringed a little bit, but I love these two. And the reason I love these two is that it's system administrator focused, right? So you don't have to have a developer that needs to run tests. A system administrator can come in, they can learn PowerShell, they can learn PHP, they can learn MySQL, super easy tools to use. Here's an overview of how Belay Device works. We have a database sitting in our central command server. We have a web server. Users can view results and submit tests through our web client. We also have a command line client, right? It's all PowerShell based. You're going to take an XML file, you're going to kick off our script, and it imports the test for us. We have hypervisors. I'll get to which ones we support here in a minute. We also have the manager. The manager is the one who's doing all the smarts, right? He's looking at the test queue and determining what's going to be kicked off, when it's going to be kicked off, whether the hypervisor has availability, whether we have an agent that has availability. The agents, we have multiple types of agents. These guys are going to run the different workflows, right? Every organization might have a different workflow, and we allow for you to customize the workflows. All right, deployments. The best thing about an open source software is that we can kind of cater it to your needs. Belay Device can be set up on an individual laptop or workstation. or it can be centrally managed for a group of testers or a group of developers. Again, this is for system administrators that want to test infrastructure, and this is for developers that want to test software. You can run it 24/7, and to add capacity, all you have to do is add more hypervisors. Give this thing more room to run. We currently support ESX, Workstation, and Oracle VirtualBox. So again, you take that idea of that I can sit here and run this on this laptop and just run test after test after test, just iterating through whatever cycles I need. Or it can be in a cloud somewhere. All right, here's our standard workflow, right? So we want a repeatable, cost-saving, and we want customizable, right? So we walk through the process, right? The first thing is we configure the VM, right? This is where you're going to clone the VM from wherever your library is. The next phase is provisioning. You're going to load software on it. You're going to configure it. Maybe you want to disable UAC. Maybe you need to configure a registry setting. Then we take a snapshot, right? And this is where the cost savings comes in, because then you're going to run your test over and over again. And after each individual test case, we revert back to that base snapshot. Again, we're 24/7, so you can run as many test cases as you want. You can run as many VMs as you want. If you want to test Windows 7, if you want to test Windows 10, it doesn't matter. We'll follow the same workflow. Once we're done all the test cases, we can destroy the VM. Back to the customize piece. Maybe you don't want to destroy the VM. Maybe you want to clone that VM off to another data store for inspection. Maybe if the test passes, you don't care, you can delete it. If the test fails, you want to do that forensic capability. It's totally up to you. And at the end, we do give you a nice little report in the UI. All right, custom workflows and the systems under test. So roll your own. Take our framework, which is just kind of the automated piece, plug in your own provisioning service, and customize the workflow. It's great. We can test on any Windows platform, Linux, and Android x86. So again, plug in your own provisioning service, plug in your template VMs, customize your workflow, and you can start testing quickly and easily. All right, the big news of the past 2 weeks, PowerShell is now open source. What does this mean for device and testing? It means that we can run device on Linux and Mac, right? So that means we're going to have support for Fusion, KVM, Parallels, VirtualBox on Linux and Mac. This is huge, right? So, all the developers out there that don't have an automated solution that's open source, you're going to have one soon. I'll get to the roadmap soon, but it's going to take us some time to get there. Everything's still in alpha, beta, but we'll get to a point where we're fully supporting all the OSs. All right, I'm going to get into types of testing. So there's 4 main types, and we go from really basic to semi-complicated. And I'll talk about which ones we do and don't support. So the first one's just application and OS testing. Basically, you have a hypervisor, and inside that hypervisor, you have a VM. And all of the testing happens within that VM. You might be testing a software package, a patch update, a group policy change. It doesn't really matter what it is. Just think of it as being inside that VM. The second stage is going to be static integration testing. So you have multiple VMs that are running in your hypervisor, and you have a support server. Maybe you have a web server, and you want to browse and make sure that your web application is good. In that support cloud, that application is static. You're not doing anything to that application except testing your interaction between the system under test and your web application. Pretty basic stuff, super easy to configure. All right, dynamic integration testing. This is where it gets more complicated. This is going to come out in a future release. We don't currently support this with our software. Dynamic integration testing is that now you're going to take that same web server, you're going to deploy that web server into the testing environment, and then you're going to deploy the client, right? So this is great for if you want to deploy different versions of that web server and test not only the deployment, but then you test the interaction between the system under test and the hypervisor. You still have a support cluster if you need to get artifacts from that those services. All right, and then we get into a fully automated IaaS testing. This is very complicated. This is where NSX comes in. NSX is going to virtualize entire networks so that you can mimic not only your public infrastructure, but your private infrastructure. You can put firewalls in between, a fully automated, fully vetted system that you can say will mimic your production environment. All right, back to device for a minute here. So what we provide you at the end of the test is colored results, easy to understand. Hopefully it's big enough for you. You get to watch the test live. So there's a little button there that says watch live. You can click on that during the test. You can interact with it. I'd be careful, right, because you can actually invoke change during the test. You'll have clickable, viewable log files. So over on the right-hand side, if you want to view the log files from the test, you select that item. And then you can just repeat this. You can run these tests over and over and over again, and you'll get this same beautiful user interface. All right, so here's our short roadmap. 2.3, which is coming out soon. We have a better user interface for everybody. It's going to look better. It's built off of another open source framework. An updated database schema to kind of make things run a little bit better, a little smoother. And centralized commandlets. We're kind of just hacked it together a little bit to get it out for you guys, but it absolutely works. We just want to reduce that code. 3.0, we have that multi-machine testing. So that was that third phase where we can kind of stand up VMs and make sure that interaction between your pieces work. Improved workflow control, and then an automated device installer, right? So right now you have to download the files from GitHub. You're going to have to install the software yourself. We're going to wrap all that into one installer for you. And then coming in 4.0, I don't really have a timeline for this, but this is where the support for Linux and Mac is going to come in. All right, how to get started. Watch our video. Check out the website here. Download it for free. And check us out on Twitter. That pretty much sums it up. I want to thank the vBrownBag guys, the guys behind the camera. They did a great job getting everything ready for us today and this week. Really appreciate it. And with that, thank you guys.